Great to see everyone tonight. Let me turn my volume up a little bit here. There we go. Much better. Stefan, is it morning? Is it morning already? How many of you saw my new video? I know some of you did. How many of you noticed that the quality of the image was much better? I saw some comments about it. Yukis, you saw that, right? So I should have given Rhett credit because Rhett filmed it. He filmed it with my camera. I mean, I have the camera, but when you make videos on your own, especially with me, because I can't see the screen that well from here. So it's hard to do. It's hard to really focus unless you use autofocus. It's definitely much better. He used the natural light, the incandescent lights, instead of my. I think actually we blended two lights together. I think we used one of my regular white lights and an incandescent light on it. But you know, you can see the difference. I mean, it's obvious to me when you see the difference that it has a depth of field to it and everything. And I mean, I wish all my videos looked like that. And you know, just having a person here to do it, to help, is really is a different thing. And I used a real amp and cabinet here in the same room. So I have a Canon camera. It's just a Rebel T6, I think it is. But there's a reason I used a dual rectifier, which is the amp that Blink used to use. They used to use dual rectifiers and triple rectifiers. But I use that through a Marshall with 65 watt Celestions, the G12 65 watts, which are phenomenally great cabinets. So anyways, I thought, do the video, explain the stuff, and actually just demonstrate it with the type sounds that they used. You know, I got to say that I have been messing around with my Axe effects, and it sounds cool, but it's not the real thing, you know? It's not a real guitar amp. And look, I know that it's more convenient for people to use the things, but I don't have to worry about convenience here. So, you know, when I am doing these videos, these song breakdowns,
I'm going to be using the gear that they used on the records. Does putting XFX through a power amp make it sound real or just better? I don't know. I've only used the XFX directly into Pro Tools. Um, so I don't know. I need more time on it. My friend Daryl's been helping me with it. I programmed some patches on my own. It's, but, you know, once again, there's Renzo, somebody that traded their XFX for a 100-watt tube amp. There you go. I mean, I've only got 100-watt tube amps. Now I have combos. Um, uh, I got so I've gotten some obnoxious comments about the fact that I did a Blink 182 video. Now, everybody here realizes that I worked as a music producer for 25 years, right? That I like music production, and and I kind of find some of this stuff. I don't usually get offended by things, by comments. I tell you what, I don't get offended by people that are insulting. I actually um, I actually get offended when people are dismissive of bands like that. Um, Pete Thorne is the man for dialing in tone with load boxes and cabinet impulses. I was talking to my friend Keith today about cabinets and impulses. There's my buddy Keith was using one of the torpedo load boxes, and it sounded great. He sent me a clip of something he recorded with a custom amp that he built, or that one of our friends built. And you know, load boxes are great. Impulse responses are great, but having a real 412 20 feet from me here with my amp sitting 1 foot away from me is, there's no comparison to that. And, if you're playing an 8 string guitar and you're playing some heavy rock, music, and you don't really know how to record things and don't know how to get the amp tight because you've got a ton of bottom end going into the preamp section of your amplifier in the front end, and you find that it's all just mush. Um, so um, you know, then using an Axe Effects is perfectly cool. So so I I just you know I need to give the Axe Effects a little bit more time. I don't want to say that you can't get those sounds, but I'm not um, I'm not sold yet on it. So I need some more time on it. I don't know if it's better for high gain, Robert. I mean, I think that my Mesa Boogie sounds phenomenal. Now, that Mesa is a two-channel dual rectifier, which were the best sounding ones because there was a lot less circuitry they go through, and that's a modded amp. It's got a pull switch, which sends more, hits the power tubes harder. It's got it's got I want to say it's got some. I mean, it's been a long time since it was modded, but I had the guy that modded it for me took some of the fizziness off the top end because those cabinets uh, are or those heads can have a lot of hair on them, a lot of that kind of sound that you really don't want. And the amp just sounds amazing, really amazing. Um, Metallica ditched their Mesa and Diesel amps with XFX, but these people are doing this stuff. Kevin, no love for vintage 30s. I have 4 cabinets with vintage 30s in the other room. That particular amp, though, that particular cabinet is a killer sounding. Those are all vintage speakers from 79 to 81. Marshall made the G12 65 watt speakers. And they're some of the best speakers that Marshall ever made. I searched around. I bought amps on eBay. I bought a couple single channel Marshall JCM 800 combos just to get the speakers out of them. So I have 4 vintage speakers in it. But the fizziness with the Mesa, I mean, that was done by adding some. I don't know if he added some filter caps or something. I don't know what he did, but it was so many years ago. It was modded, but it just sounds killer. It just really is amazing. Renzo, vintage 30s are not. You can't make a generalization on vintage 30s. I have an orange cabinet with vintage 30s. I have a Mesa cabinet with vintage 30s. I have a Marshall cabinet with vintage 30s, and they all sound completely different. And they sound different because of a lot of things. They all have different grill cloths. They all have different cabinet construction. So you can't generalize just about a speaker. It's also it's the speaker construction. It's the way they're mounted. It's the cabinet construction, the way they're mounted, and it's the grill cloth. They're all closed back. All these 412s I'm talking about, they have the vintage 30s are all closed back. But for example, the cane front on an orange cabinet doesn't let as much top end through. It just doesn't. It's much thicker. There's not as much air that goes through. A Mesa what do you call it? Grill cloth lets much more air through, and so anyway, so that's just so you can't make generalizations about that. Nick, do I ever go on forums? Yes, I go on the new Beato forum. Where have you been, Nick? There's a new forum. Go to forum.rickbeato.com and sign up. Do I think the Blink video will get taken down? No, it won't get taken down because it's been demonetized already. They're making the monetization on it, and they're cool with it. They said I don't have to take it down. I don't get any strikes on me. Apparently, only Led Zeppelin and the Eagles take your songs down. Thank you, Ray. So Prince is saying speakers are the most overlooked aspect of a musician's sound. Yes, speakers are, they're one of the most overlooked aspects. They're an incredibly important aspect, though. And people that, unless you can afford to have, I have about 10 412 cabinets. And that's how you really can tell the difference between them. We would go through and do shootouts, my assistant Ken and I, on days off, when we'd rarely have a day off. I would pay Ken to come in, and we would mic stuff up and try and mimic sounds on records. We would go through and we'd do a comparison. We'd loop a section. I'd play something like I played there with, some power chords or whatever. Loop it and then plug in different amps, and see what they sound like. See what the different cabinets sound like. It's really incredibly useful. And you can go on these forums, the Gear Sluts forum, for pro audio, and you just see a lot of stuff on there that's ridiculous. It's completely, it just absolutely wrong information about things. They'll talk about people that I've worked with that I know how they work, and they're completely wrong about stuff. Generally, people, so and so uses a PCM 42 and they distort it here, and this is how they get that tone. It's like, no. Anything that sounds complex that you read that people do, they don't do. Says your forums are down because of an unsecured network. I don't think it's down. Does anyone go to the forum there? Is it down? I don't know. Everyone's an expert on the net. Have I mastered Holdsworth's solo tone? I will. Forums work fine. So I'm going to thank you for going there. You need SSL redirect. I will have Aaron get on there and take care of that when he gets a chance, and take a look at it. So I think that I think it's going to be an exciting. So I was having lunch with Rhett and Michelle, and people that are asking me how do I defizz my amps. I'm not sure because I don't do it. I pay people to do it. So I'm not sure how it's done. It's a thing where I would, get people to send whoever is modding, and I've had things modded by a bunch of different people, and they would send me samples of recording. And Biswadeep, what's up? They'll send me samples. And I say, no, it needs this, it needs that. The mids aren't quite right. More low mids, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, so I thought about this. I was thinking that this will be a great series because I know when Rhett and I were talking at lunch with Michelle, he said that his favorite video that he's seen me do lately is the one I did on here where I was playing all the multi-tracks. And because and it was interesting. And I said, I should do a series where I analyze tunes, but just do one song at a time like that. Make short videos. And I can talk about the get the different sounds, things like that, and talk about what makes the songs great. And I said I'll do a series called that. So anyways, I've got tons of multi-tracks. I don't even need multi-tracks to do it. Actually, I can demo the stuff, but it's going to be it'll be all hit songs, and we'll deconstruct them, and it's kind of a cross between songwriting lesson and music production, both. So anyway, so yeah, and hopefully it'll get big enough that I'll get multi-tracks from anyone that I want. Ones that I can't find. Because it's really informative when you can actually hear the sound soloed. No question about it. Anyways, so I trashed somebody on here, and it was fun. You guys know that I love to let people have it. You're not offended by that, I hope. It's always in good fun. Where's I'm going to find the quote, the comment here though. This is really, this stuff annoys me. Whereas, you lost me when I saw the words Blink 182 and great in the same sentence. You're breaking this garbage down like it's Mozart or something, LOL. Somebody wrote, music snobbery is lame sauce. I like lame sauce. And I said, well, you can read what I said to him. This is what I said. Here it is. I said, there were a couple of responses. The next person said, it's a craft, not a magical accident. Then another person says, jealous. And then I wrote, this is a series on songwriting and music production. Send me a recording of you. I will critique it here. I promise I will be open-minded, even if it's crap, parentheses, which the chances are very high. Just saying. So, anyways, I will I will be happy to critique his song on here and say why it's horrendously bad if it is, or maybe it's great. You never know. But the chances are that it's horrible because 95 out of 100 things are horrible. And that's just unfortunately a fact. So boom, right there. When I get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recordings from people, I don't even need to listen to them. It's like I go to a music conference, no matter what it is, and bands come up and give you their CDs or whatever. This always go happen. Now, the chances on putting one in and it being good are basically zero. So you get pretty much I always would say this to my other producer friends. We'd always laugh about it. And this isn't being a snob. This is just a reality. You could just take every CD that you get and just throw it in a trash can. So that's, that's really that's really the long and short of it from there. And it takes a lot of expertise. Tom just said this to produce a song well, really. I forgot to mention about the chords and the bass. I mean, that's another thing that makes the chorus really super heavy. That's more of a production thing. And I thought about that I was going to do. Somebody mentioned Cash Me Outside should have been the first song I did. And I said that to Rhett that I should do that, but I will analyze that song at some point. But I'll talk about why I like it. I'll talk about what I don't like on it and what I do like on it, because there is definitely a lot that I like about it. So, do I think small bands need to have CDs to sell their shows? No, I think it's just a waste of plastic to make CDs now. Let's see. Troopin420 found your channel from the Rock Producer Styles video and stuck around. Side effect, maybe starting to understand a bit of theory now. There you go. The Dive. It's kind of sad time now. Money and energy these bands spend on making CD, and 95% are garbage. I'll tell you why. There's an easy reason why most of it's this is why. 20 years ago, when I was playing in bands, started my band 21 years ago, there wasn't Pro Tools in every studio. There was Pro Tools really in almost no studios. Pro Tools didn't start being used at studios where you didn't have to pay extra for it until about 2001. So you recorded on tape. Well, people didn't have money to go in and record on tape. Only bands that either had an investor or bands that were bands that had enough of a following that they could afford, either through, there was really no crowdfunding, but they could afford to make a record. And bands would play for a long time together and go through many, many, many songs before they would go in and make a record or even go in and make a demo. You just didn't have it just wasn't, you weren't able to do it. You just couldn't go in studios. And the further back you go, the less likely it was. In the 80s, it was very hard to make records. They came out with, Fostex had 4-track cassettes in 1981, 1979, Tascam. Before the X15 Fostex thing that was junk, but Tascam made a nice 4-track thing that you could make 4-track cassette demos on. But it's not making real recordings or anything in real recording studios. So very few bands ever went in recording studios. Nowadays, you put on GarageBand, you make a loop, and you got a song, and you put it up. And you don't learn anything about songwriting. You don't learn anything about production. Bands never develop because they never weed through material by writing enough songs till they develop enough of a following and get good enough to write the kind of songs that actually would make them a great band. The Beatles knew 1,000 covers. They played from 57 to 62 before they went in the studio and wrote a song, And all these bands in Seattle where people were going from band to band back 25, 30 years ago. It was, nowadays you can just make anything and put it out. And there's no process. So that's why 95% of the stuff is horrendous. There's no secret to it. It's just obvious. It's, there's no craft. Nobody learns how to do this stuff because they don't spend any time writing 100 songs. I mean, the two bands that I were in, from the time I was 28 to 37, 38, I wrote 150 songs with each band. Okay. Not only did we write 150 songs, we demoed 150 songs. Okay. How many people demo 150 songs? How many bands? How many bands write 150 songs? That's the thing right there. That's how you get good at doing this. I didn't get good, I didn't become a good musician by not working at it. I was definitely not, I didn't have the talent of some of the people I see out there. My son, I don't have half the talent of any of my 3 kids, but I have twice the work ethic of 99% of the people that you're going to see out there. I just do. And the thing that I have, besides having a good ear, is that I have common sense. And common sense will take you a long way. It'll pretty much take you most of the way towards anything. I'll never be a virtuoso on the saxophone, okay? Or the clarinet, or, a bunch of other instruments that I don't play. But I have virtuosic knowledge of a number of different topics. That is all from hard work, period. And anybody that watches this channel and has listened to me for a long time knows that about me. And they know that this is what I preach. Do it. The only truth is action. Stop talking and start doing. Period. End of story. Or the oboe, Nick. I mean, people are just all talk. That's really Nari, a knowledge virtuoso. Exactly. I'm not a virtuoso like Nari. She's a true virtuoso. But I'm a knowledge virtuoso, I would say. And there's something to be said for that. Just act, quit talking. That's it. Really, it's there's no shortcuts to an experienced virtuoso. I like that. There's no shortcuts to any of this stuff. There isn't. It's just all hard work. Look, some people are really naturally gifted. I was watching Pat Metheny. I hate to keep bringing Pat up, but he was a guitar player that I really loved when I was a kid, and he was an outstanding guitar player at when he was 18 years old, when he was 20 years old. He did Bright Side's Life when he was 21. And he'd only been playing guitar for less than 10 years, And, he's got a natural gift, but was an incredibly hard worker. So if you put the natural gift, because he has a natural gift for melody, he has a natural gift for accuracy. People like Aiden have a natural gift. People like Nari have a natural gift. But you can have all the natural talent in the world. If you don't put the time in, your fingers don't go in the right spot. Period. They don't. You can't play stuff. Steve Vai's a great example. Stratcat just said. Steve will say it. Steve told me, he said, I was good on guitar. I wasn't good. I can't play the drums. I can't play this. I can't play the keyboards. I found the one thing I was good at, and I'm glad that I did. And Steve is a worker. There's Steve. I'm like Steve that way. I'm a worker. Allan Holdsworth is a person that just could play things that other people couldn't play. It's not just that Allan's hands are big. His hands are not that particularly big. I shook hands with him a bunch of times. He doesn't have as big a hands as you think, But he has this accuracy that he had this accuracy and this ability to play these angular lines that was really unlike anyone. And he did it before anyone else did. But the fact of the matter is the guy practiced for years and years, hours and hours a day. So it doesn't have anything to do, with how good your ear is or how good your memory is or anything. If you don't put in the work, you don't get the results. There you go. Joe, here comes my inner cynic. Allan wasn't rewarded in kind. The talent wasn't noticed by the masses. No. Talent is not noticed by masses. Of course not. That's why McDonald's is a big place to eat at, or Burger King or Chick-fil-A, whatever. Of course it's not. But that's why it's special. If it was rewarded by society, it wouldn't be special. Only once in a while do these two things come together, talent and success. And you get bands called the Beatles, or people like John Williams, for example, or I'm trying to think of some people, there's very, very rarely people get rewarded for being actually incredibly good. U2, Dick said. I agree. I love U2. They're an amazing band, and they were incredibly successful. But U2 they're not virtuosos. Yo-Yo Ma, there's a perfect example, Brett said, okay? Glenn Gould, Prince said, was pushed by the record company. Glenn Gould was well known when I was a kid. He died in 1982, and he was not even 50 yet. John Williams is not a Ray Fun Williams ripoff, Doug. Sorry, he's not. John Williams is one of the most gifted composers of the late 20th century and early 21st century. I'm sorry to inform you of that. You can't talk about John Williams and dismiss him with one sentence. John Williams has written an enormous amount of music, and he's not just a Korngold ripoff or anything. He's an incredibly brilliant composer and an absolutely brilliant arranger. He's one of the greatest brass arrangers and wind arrangers of all time. And he can write melodies that people remember forever. So Chris Whitley, I saw Chris Whitley play one time, not long before he died. Tragedy. What a talented guy, man. Talented guy. Then why is Pat so successful? I'm not sure why is Pat so successful. You mean why is Pat Metheny successful? And Allan Holdsworth wasn't successful? Because Allan, because I'm going to take it to, I'm not sure what a London Symphony number 2 then. I don't know what that means. But let me talk about Robert says Gary Burton. Why is Pat successful? It's not just wait, hold on. Let me go back to this John Williams. John Williams is a composer that was heavily in order to complete his assignment of writing film scores, he wrote to temp music that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas put into all the films. They took Richard Strauss, they took Korngold, these guys were expert. They were, they knew all this music, all this orchestral music, all this late romantic music, and they put it in temp, versions of these things and wanted John Williams to mimic it, period. That's why they sound like those, okay? He made it sound like the temp music that was there from the beginning. I guarantee you. So there you go. But let me get back to Allan Holdsworth and Pat Metheny. Allan Holdsworth wrote incredibly esoteric music. Pat Metheny did not write incredibly esoteric music. Pat did some really esoteric things that I never cared for, like Song X, that I just thought were just noise. Allan did not have the same command of melody in the same way that Pat did. Pat was able to make things that were really melodic, that had a certain... He was able to play phrases that suggested other phrases and were very easy to lead the listener. They were very vocal-like. They were angular, some of them, but not in the same way of Allan Holdsworth. Allan also wrote songs that he had a particular style of writing songs. He had a guitar with a bunch of delay on it. He would write chord melodies in the verses and then solo over them. And every song, he had a formula that he used, and his songs were very similar. Angular, what does angular mean? John asked. Angular means that it's a lot of intervallic playing, a lot of big interval jumps in there, or things with really odd melodies that would, jump to unexpected places. When you think about things that Metheny was playing over, now, if, here's my new guitar, right? I hope it's in tune. I haven't tuned it. Rhett was playing it earlier. It's not really in great tune. So when Metheny was playing Phase Dance, for example, this was a huge song. He always started his concerts out. Right? And then I'm remembering it, but... So he's basically going, the whole solo in that tune is B minor 7, B minor 9 to B flat Lydian, right? And then, you know, in the, right? That's it. That is Phase Dance, and he would solo over that. If Allan soloed over tunes like that, he would have had more fans. But he wouldn't be Allan Holdsworth, okay? Is that Eastman plugged into an amp? No, that was just acoustic. So now, Allan could not do what Pat could do. He just couldn't. Allan didn't have that. That wasn't in his sensibilities. It wasn't his taste. So you can't expect Allan to be like Pat or have the same career trajectory. Also, Pat knew things. Pat played with a light show. He wore the same type striped shirts all the time. He wore Converse All-Stars. He knew about marketing and imaging and things like that. He knew enough to get Jaco to play on his first record, you know? John Scofield, none of these guys could write songs like Pat did early on. And, you know, now... what model Eastman is that? I have no idea. I bought it yesterday, and I have no idea what it was. Pat was a rock star. There you go. And I love Allan Holdsworth. He's one of my favorite guitarists of all time. You know, when the interesting thing the thing that I find so fascinating is when I listen to Iden. Allan didn't have Lyle Mays in his corner. When I listen to Iden is one of the only people that could do the most advanced kind of playing, and then he could play the most melodic thing, which I don't believe that this is what makes him so unusual. When I hear this... So Iden is able to play stuff like that, which is as melodic as anything. And he's just improvising it. He doesn't need to sit down and write anything like that because he can just play it on one pass. You just ask him to do something like that, and that's what he does. But Iden is not famous and never has been. And I don't understand it. Um, so, yes, that was Iden. That was an improvisation that he did when he was here a couple years ago. Um, Jeff Berlin versus Jaco, very similar analogy. Pat versus Allan. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I don't really. No, because Jeff and Jaco are very different players. Because Jeff is not like Allan. He's and Jaco was not like Allan. Jaco was incredibly melodic. If you think of his playing with Joni Mitchell on Hijira or Shadows and Light, um, um, I wouldn't say Jeff is like Pat either. No, there's nobody like Jaco was one of a kind. Thank you. He really was. Metheny said in an interview I watched yesterday with him that where he talked about Jaco, he said that Jaco's best playing was on Bright Side's Life, in Pat's opinion, and I totally agree with that. Here's my friend Pat calling me. I'm going to answer. Hold on. Yo, I'm on live right now. So if you go on live, I'm literally talking on the phone. I was talking about Jaco and making the comparison that Jaco is actually not like anyone. I was talking about the comparison between Metheny and Holdsworth. So if you get on right now, you can throw in your 2 cents, Pat. All right. I'll see you. Bye. That was my friend Pat, not Pat Metheny, Pat Ryan, and he and I talk about this stuff all the time, every day. It's really, yeah. I mean, Jaco and Holdsworth were, incredibly. What's up, Tom? Tom Wadsworth is in the house, everyone. Tom, I called you yesterday about the recording. You're going to get mad at me. I'm just going to keep bugging you about it. When are you going to send it to me? Tom, I'm waiting. I called you yesterday. I'm going to keep calling you. So, do you have to want to be famous? Look, people don't want to, Allan Holdsworth would love to have made a good living. He kept downsizing. Look where he was living before he passed away. I mean, the guy struggled his whole life. Of course. I don't think that well, I don't say you have to want to be successful. Do people really want to fail? Most people don't want to fail. I mean, look, Allan would love to have had the success of Pat Metheny. Of course. Let's be, of course. All these people feel that way. He struggled financially, of course he did. I mean, it's really unbelievable to think. Holdsworth cared nothing for fame. Caring about fame, Pat, and being financially able to take care of your family are two different things. And I'm not saying that Pat doesn't work hard. He works 300 days per year, whether he needs to or not. So, anyways, it's Allan did not fail. He did not fail, but he wasn't able to he wasn't able to provide for himself. That's why they did a GoFundMe, at the end. I mean, it's really, um, you know, it's profoundly sad. It's profoundly sad. And if you said to Allan, hey, you know what? You're going to be recognized and make $1 million a year. He would have said, bring it on. Nobody likes to struggle. So, Allan left a huge legacy behind. Of course he did. That's not the point, though. The point is that, very rarely the whole thing was about people that very rarely do talent and success go together hand in hand. That is really the kind of the that's sometimes the stars align. I'm not going to make a comparison between Allan Holdsworth and the Beatles. Whose success was bigger, Blink-182 or Allan Holdsworth? Well, to people that like Blink-182, they were more successful. That doesn't mean that people are going to be talking about Blink-182 in 100 years, Time has a way of weeding people out that of little importance or no importance, I got to think that, there are very few people like Bach that were, and there's a reason that Bach is known. So Miles made a lot of money, Renzo said. Miles made a lot of money because Miles was a very smart business guy. Not only was he a smart business guy, but he was like a producer in the way that he was able to find the best players to play in his band. Virtually everyone that played in Miles Davis' band had success after that. Look at Van Gogh, Joe says. Yes, Van Gogh. Van Gogh did find his audience after he died. Time has a way of weeding these things out. So, Holdsworth will be remembered long after Blink-182. I think that's probably true, Jim. That's my gut. That's my gut feeling as well. Remember, Rick, great composers always thought about their legacy and their name after death. Pat says, Blink-182 will be gone in a blink and Allan Holdsworth will remain. What's up, Daniel? Was Mozart successful during his lifetime? Successful or known? I mean, was he... how wealthy was Mozart? I don't know how wealthy he was, Did he do as well as Haydn, who had a steady gig his whole life for the most part? Bach worked steadily. Some of these people were celebrated. This is really, obviously, this is a really fascinating, topic because we don't know. The only thing that we can look at is I talked about this on a Facebook a long time ago, and I thought it was such an interesting topic about Allan, if Haydn wanted fame, he would get it. That's baloney. People don't just get fame or success. Most success is by accident. I had a #1 song by accident. Sure, I wrote it with the band, but you know, somebody had to invest $500,000 in it before it became successful. And does that mean anything? Of course not. It doesn't mean anything except I made some money off of it. That's it. Let's see here. Eli says, Miles was able to transcend because he could be cool and killing in many different styles. His charisma took him far beyond jazz world. It was 1 in a billion dynamic with that dude. Yes, I agree. I agree with that, Pat. That's not your gut feeling that your intellect, man. It's going so fast here. This is like the other channel here. It's not your gut feeling that your intellect. Wait. That's informed by musical knowledge. That's not your gut feeling that your intellect that's informed by musical knowledge. I'm not sure. I don't think you put in all the words you were thinking of there, Pat. The Beatles without Epstein. You know, it's like some of these things are hard to say. You know, how do you separate those two things? You can't. They happened the way that they happened. Jeff Berlin was an a-hole to many people. Jeff will say that. He told me that. He said it on the thing with them. You know? Being successful does not necessarily mean you'll be excellent. Being excellent does not necessarily mean you will be successful. Christopher Parkening. Agreed. So, you know, are things fair out there? No. Do I wish that Idens was selling more things on the Idenness and Music thing that I put up? I'm looking on here right now. You know, he sold a few things today even. But do I wish that he sold a lot more? Of course I do. Of course I do. Did I just navigate away from my thing here, my live stream? Did I just lose my live stream? Am I still streaming right now? I don't even know. Hold on. I think I just screwed up, everybody. I wonder if I can get back on. Let's see here. Let's see here. Am I out of my live stream? Can you guys still see me? Because I can't see you. I guess I'm back in it now. Can you guys? No, I'm on still. Okay. You are live. That's hilarious. The chat is hidden, I think. No, I can see now. Yes, I'm streaming. I actually went to a different website there by accident. Reboot. Tom. But this is really fascinating. So, you know, I was saying, what will be remembered in 50 years or in 100 years? Will the Beatles be remembered in 100 years? I don't know if the Beatles will be remembered in 100 years because we're about 60 years out from the beginning of the Beatles, right? Or 56 years out almost. And are the Beatles getting more or less famous? I think the Beatles are getting less famous. I think that they are. I don't think things work like they used to. I'm not sure about that. This is really an interesting thought. Because there's people that will probably be remembered in 100 years that are alive now that we don't even realize are important. Let's see. I think they're getting less famous. Most young people don't know who they are, unfortunately. I agree. I agree with that, Double X. I totally agree. I think that the Beatles are getting less famous. Now, the Beatles did not get less famous until the last, I would say 10 years or so, since the early 2000s. I think that there was a connection to it. I think there's a connection in the Beatles that is lost. The Beatles youngsters are fascinated by them still. I don't think so. I don't think that. Because rock bands, Yuka said this right here. He said rock bands don't interest the masses anymore. That's why. That's why. That is really why. I'll tell you that who's withstanding the test of time to me is the Police. I think just because I've been on a police bin, I believe that if the Police came out today with the same songs, with the exception of the fact that Sting would have to come back right in with the second verse after the tunes, Sting would have hit after hit after hit. The Police would have hit after hit after hit. No question about it. Message in a Bottle, boom, hit song. Do 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 da 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 da, hit song. King of Pain, hit song. Every Breath You Take, hit song. Every one of these songs would be hit songs. I know because I play them for my kids and they remember them. They remember the Police. It's so, the melodies are amazing and they don't sound like anyone. Sting's music does not sound like anyone. It doesn't. There's no one has copied them. People copied the Beatles, but no one has been able to copy Sting. They don't, when I hear Walking on the Moon, bum 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 da, 10 steps onward today, walking on the moon. I hope my legs don't break, walking on the moon. Who writes melodies like that? Who writes lyrics like that? They're totally weird. Summers really expanded their harmonies. Baloney. Sting wrote every single part of every one of those songs. Sorry to tell you that. Sting was a control freak, and everything in there is, every harmony part was his. I really think that that virtually every little thing she does is magic came out today, #1 song. Played exactly the same. Roxanne, hit song, no question about it. No question about it. They'd all be hits. Because no one sounds like them. Every part, there's nothing that's Sting's bass lines. Even on even on some of the songs later on some of his solo records, like If I Ever Lose My Faith. And to me, that was kind of a Sting paint by numbers kind of song. I mean, it's really, really incredible. But the Police songs, forget it. There's so many of them that would be huge hits. He can't write like that anymore. You know why, Brett? Because he's not under 30 anymore. People have a limited amount of those songs. Sting happened to have a lot of those songs, and he wrote them as a young person, and it's yeah. I mean, look, he had enough commercial success. He's got hundreds of millions of dollars, and there it is. And he doesn't have to. He doesn't live that kind of life anymore. He's been a multimillionaire for 30, 40 years now. So he doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to write those songs. Believe me, if they could write those songs, he would write them. But if you don't have that kind of struggle in life. See, he was one of the people that was able to still write great songs even after he became really famous. That Blink-182 song, if it came out nowadays, I think it would be a hit. It's unbelievably catchy. But the Police will be remembered, I think, in 100 years. I really do. If I was a multimillionaire like Sting, would I still have the same drive I have now? I don't know. Because I don't know. I can't even imagine that. So that's my honest answer about that. Would I do anything different? I don't know. I'm not sure if I would be like that. I mean, I'm being 100% honest. It's never it's easy to say, "Oh, I would be this, I'd be that." You don't know. If all the pressure was taken off, if I never had to make a living again, no, things would be very different. Things would be different for my kids. Money doesn't change. Look, I'm not a materialistic person. Now, people look at my studio here and everything and think that, I mean, I don't, I'm not missing any meals because of people like you guys that buy my book. I'm getting by right now, and I don't have to go back to producing still. But but yes, that's a Leslie back there, Joe. It's a 147. But if I think it would be really detrimental to my children if they had if we had a lot of money. Although I'm not materialistic at all. I wear black shirts every day. Would I wear different black shirts? No. Would I not wear jeans? No. I've worn jeans, sneakers, and black shirts. Ask any of my friends for the last 40 years. Okay? So there you go. Why don't I want to produce, though? Because Kevin asks, because I don't like to produce anymore. Because it's boring. And because most of the bands that I work with are terrible. Not all of them, most of them. The ones that are great are a blast to work with. But it's 4 out of 100, just like the amount of bands that are successful. If you can wear sneakers and a t-shirt, then you're a success in my mind. I don't have to wear a suit, I haven't changed how I dress since the 60s, though. Never goes out of fashion. You can't go wrong with a black t-shirt, right? You look at yourself in pictures 25 years from now, I'm like, okay, cool. Black t-shirt, jeans. Don't tuck your shirt in, and you're never, and you're always good. Doesn't matter. It's like making records. When I produced records, I always thought, well, don't do anything weird with the drums. You'll regret it later. Deaden them too much or whatever, going for this sound or that sound. Open drum sounds never go out of style. That's why Zeppelin sounds good still, So black t-shirt takes off 5 pounds. Well, I need to take off about 35 pounds, Robert. So what? I need a whole black, I need a long sleeve black onesie or something. So my buddy Duke Levine appeared live in a live video. I should have watched it, but he's on Facebook. Why is he on Facebook? So Michelle showed me this video of They usually say black hides 50. Um, Michelle showed me this video of some goofball, sorry to say, that was on Facebook. And he talked about why he does his videos on Facebook. Because people that have these weird names that he can't relate to, blah, blah, blah. And he's got 1 million followers or something like that on Facebook. And it's like, that's not even... and I said, who cares? The guy's an idiot. If he got on YouTube, the reason he's not on YouTube is because he would fail. Because YouTube is a way harder audience to get by. This is hardcore over here. This is not for the faint of heart. The fact that people don't put their real names for the most part on here, or only some of them do, the brave ones do, makes it where people are not afraid to tell you what they really think. And they're not just blowing smoke, YouTube is skeptic central. So, what's up, SB? So really, I know, Joe, that's why I love it, man. I love it. Ray, I know Start the Rebellion is Ray. I love people with their real names. I know who has their real names and not. Idiots are 80% of the population, Mariano. It's probably more like 90. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not going to be that cynical. Sean, there you go. But this thing, Michelle was trying to show me this thing that this guy is on Facebook. Who cares? Who cares? The reason he's on Facebook is because he couldn't hack it. He talked about how his videos didn't do well on YouTube. Because he's a goober. There's no, it's tough. It's tough. When I was, when my channel started and I was getting every single video, my God, I had 50 videos out and none of them had over 1,000 views. It's really, it was brutal. And people would always say, man, why is it that people, why is it that your videos don't have any views? And people get embarrassed. They don't want to subscribe to channels that have videos that have under 1,000 views. So you don't get subscribers. It's the whole thing about social proof. When someone new comes to my channel, I got, 600-700 subscribers. This week I got pretty much around between 600 and 700 subscribers a day. Okay. Now, when people come to a channel, they've never heard of me. They see something suggested up there and they come to it and they say, okay, this guy has 400 videos and he's got 205,000 subscribers. Click subscribe. This is trusted. These people have vetted him. It's, that's called social proof. And it makes I think it makes the barrier to entry for people like myself easier than for people, like Nare, for example, that has 5,000 subscribers, or Rhett that has 1,000 subscribers. It's more difficult for them to get subscribers because their videos don't yet have a lot of views. Some do, but many don't. So the barrier to entry, YouTube isn't going to take a chance and push your videos and suggest them. And people are going to look at it and they're going to say, you know what? It's only got 800 views. Maybe I'll come back to this person. And I knew people would come back. Riley, is that true? You jumped on the train at 19,000 subs. That's awesome. Who on here subscribed to me before I had 25,000 subscribers, would you say? Anybody, who are some of the oldest subscribers here? I know one of my oldest subscribers is Doton, Piano Around the World. No lie, 2,000 subscribers.
when he subscribed and got in touch with me. And he had 40-something thousand. People don't want to comment. Joey just said this. If you're commenting on Nare's videos, people don't want to comment and be the first person. It'd be the only person. They feel weird about it, If I would have come across your channel, Joe, subbed April 2017. How can you tell when you subbed? Gilbert, you subbed when I was at around 1,000. You're his first subscriber. I know that's not true. Ron, people don't remember when they subscribed. Nathan, you subscribed when I had 87 videos, okay? And I've got 400 or 398 right now. Daniel, you subscribed when Dylan's first video? Well, that was when I had less than 1,000 subscribers. Dylan's first video was in 2015, December. Mariano, you were on 120K before you trolled me at 200,000. Ryan, early 2017. Shannon, you subscribed 20 minutes ago. Is that actually true? Come on. You subscribed last September. Double like, you were surprised the channel has material from 10 years ago. My channel? My channel's been around for a long time. Why do people hate jazz sold you? Did this channel really exist that long ago? I'm not talking about this channel. I was talking about my main channel, but yeah. I'm talking about my main channel. Late 2016, okay. Roberta, it's been a year. Eric is asking about John Dowland. What do you mean nobody remembers him? I remember John Dowland. Sting did a record of his. I played plenty of John Dowland's pieces. The Earl of Essex Galliard is one of my favorite pieces. Joe, you blogged about it. I remember when you blogged about it. Thank you too, Joe. Early 2017 on Adam video, late 2017. I mean, Adam was, talked about my channel when I was, I probably had 50,000 subscribers maybe then when he did. And it was incredibly nice of him to do that. This is funny because we're talking on this, and this is my second channel. That is the Sinister Gates interview. There you go. I don't know when you saw, but you remember the blue car salesman. That was my first video. That was literally my first video because I said to Ken, my assistant who was recording the audio, I feel like a used car salesman. It was embarrassing. We got to get Amy over 100,000. I know. It was nice to see Amy last night. Jeff Berlin brought you here. Okay, Jeff was a while ago. I met Jeff through Facebook, honestly, through him on the Charlie Benakis forum, commenting on one of Dylan's videos that was shared there by my friend Guinea. Early videos that what every pro should know. Okay, cool. So I started a, look, I don't know how to use the forum any better than anyone else. I'm kind of slow on these forum things. So I put up a thing today about when did you subscribe to my channel, or what made you subscribe to my channel, what video. This is, because this is really helpful to me because it tells me, it just like this video I did tonight about Blink. I saw the reaction that you guys had here to when I played the multi-tracks, and everybody seemed to really
Really dig that. And when Rhett said that to me today, and I was thinking, well, here's Rhett. Rhett watches YouTube all the time. He's you know, he really knows YouTube. And he was seen many of my videos. So the fact that there was something that he really said, man, you know, I really liked. One of my favorite videos was when you played those multi-tracks. That was amazing. And Rhett's been coming here to the studio for 6 years. So I'm thinking like, well, if Rhett thought that was good, then I should do a series like that. Anyways, Jim, a year ago, you just looked it up. There you go. Daniel sounding off videos. Alex, you were self-educating yourself on music, and then you sub because of my video and modes. Steve I was my best sounding off, most informative and personable. It's hard to go after Steve. Really, that was my first video. You know, my first sounding off. It's like hard to, you know, and that's the one still has. And Sinister Gates, Sin was awesome. That one, I thought that was a great one. I loved all my sounding offs that I've done. Jazz bass lesson, please. I was thinking about jazz bass lesson because I was working on jazz bass stuff today, actually. The early style of Pat Metheny, part 1. Okay. Yes, you can make song suggestions for the series, David, on my forum. So go forum.rickbeato.com, and you can put them there. So we should probably have 2 different threads. One thread should be for the song dissection, if you want to call it that, and the other should be about general video topics. And when you put video topics in, help me with a title. Okay, think of a really catchy title. That helps me. That's the hardest thing to come up with, is the title. Let's see. Is Aiden the most talented person I've ever met? Of course, no question about it. No comparison. Can you talk about producer-driven pop music? I can, but I've been on for an hour and 23 minutes, and I'm getting hungry right now. I think I need to go eat something here. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to. Do I still like my new jazz guitar? I haven't even. I've hardly played it, Martin. Today, look at this. Steve got hooked on my drum tuning video. That's awesome. Signing off with Ron Carter. That would be great. The white title labels on my videos brought me to their channel. Study pieces and Beatitudes. There you go. How do you find when you subbed? I don't know. If anyone can let me know that, put it in the forum somewhere. I want to know when people subbed. I want to know what videos you subbed on, if you can tell me, or when you subbed. So I started a little thread on there in the general discussion. So go over there. 10s or 13s, 11s, Diodario Chromes, the flat wounds. So, but I literally. Rick Beato Eats can be another channel. Oh my God, this is the longest I ever go without eating. Alpha Dog, you subscribe when I put a horse's head in your bed. I ordered a t-shirt today that says leave the gun, take the cannolis. I'll have that probably tomorrow or so. So I will wear it as soon as I get it, I promise. Sounding off with Chick Corea soon. Keith, maybe around 30,000. Awesome. Email a friend March 7th. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff, is to look up stuff like that. That's great. Leave those things on the forum. I'm going now. You guys are awesome. I'm going to pause for a second, and then I'm going to quit.